Big news. Your soulmate just made a promise about you. And they're serious. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, because something important has been happening inside your soulmate's heart. Not something loud. Not something dramatic. Not something anyone else could easily see. A quiet realization. A powerful understanding. A promise that slowly formed after days of reflection. And listen to this. At first, they didn't realize anything was changing. Life continued normally. The days passed. Responsibilities demanded attention. Goals occupied their mind. The future remained uncertain, just as it always had. Everything seemed ordinary. Yet beneath the surface, a new awareness was beginning to grow. Because your heart needs this right now, because some of life's biggest changes begin long before we recognize them. Your soulmate was experiencing one of those changes. And listen to this. The realization started with something small. A memory. A simple memory that appeared unexpectedly. Not a dramatic memory. Not a life-changing moment. Just a memory that carried meaning. The kind of memory that quietly returns when your heart is trying to teach you something. The kind of memory that refuses to disappear. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaningful memories often carry important lessons. Your soulmate was beginning to understand that lesson. And listen to this. The more they reflected, the more memories appeared. Moments of laughter. Moments of understanding. Moments of support. Moments that seemed ordinary at the time. Yet looking back, they felt different. More valuable. More meaningful. More important. Because your heart needs this right now, because time often reveals the true value of experiences we once overlooked. Your soulmate was beginning to see that value. And listen to this. For a while, they tried to focus on other things. Work. Responsibilities. Plans. Goals. The endless list of things that normally occupied their attention. Yet no matter what they focused on, the same realization kept returning. Again. And again. And again. Because your heart needs this right now, because some truths become impossible to ignore once they reveal themselves. Your soulmate had discovered one of those truths. And listen to this. The realization wasn't about the future. It wasn't about uncertainty. It wasn't about fear. It was about appreciation. A deeper appreciation than they had ever allowed themselves to feel before. The realization that meaningful people leave meaningful marks on our lives. The realization that certain connections become part of our story. The realization that some relationships influence us more than we realize. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude often begins when awareness grows. Your soulmate's awareness was growing. And listen to this. One evening, while reflecting on everything they had experienced over the years, they asked themselves a question. A simple question. Yet powerful enough to change everything. The question was: have I fully appreciated the people who have made my life better? The moment that question appeared, everything became quiet. Because suddenly they realized they didn't know the answer. Or perhaps they did know the answer. And that answer surprised them. Because your heart needs this right now, because honest questions often lead to honest discoveries. Your soulmate was making one. And listen to this. The deeper they reflected, the clearer everything became. Many of the happiest memories in their life were connected to people. Not possessions. Not achievements. Not accomplishments. People. Conversations. Shared experiences. Meaningful moments. Because your heart needs this right now, because the most valuable things in life often cannot be measured. Your soulmate was beginning to recognize those treasures. And listen to this. The realization felt emotional. Not because it was sad. Not because it was frightening. Because it was true. And truth has a way of touching the heart differently than anything else. The truth was simple. Some people matter more than we realize until we stop and truly appreciate them. Because your heart needs this right now, because awareness transforms the way we see everything. Your soulmate's perspective was changing. And listen to this. As the night continued, another realization appeared. A realization that immediately captured their attention. For years, they had focused on what came next. The next challenge. The next goal. The next chapter. The next opportunity. Yet while constantly looking ahead, they sometimes forgot to appreciate what already existed. The memories. The lessons. The people. The connections. Because your heart needs this right now, because appreciation often lives in the present moment. Your soulmate was finally learning how to appreciate it. And listen to this. The realization continued growing stronger. Every memory seemed connected by the same thread. Every lesson pointed toward the same truth. Every reflection led to the same conclusion. Meaningful people deserve meaningful appreciation. The moment that truth settled into their heart, something changed. A promise began forming. Quietly. Naturally. Without pressure. Without expectation. Simply because it felt right. Because your heart needs this right now, because the strongest promises are born from genuine understanding. Your soulmate was beginning to understand. And listen to this. The promise wasn't dramatic. It wasn't impossible. It wasn't unrealistic. It was sincere. A promise built on gratitude. A promise built on appreciation. A promise built on the realization that meaningful connections should never be taken for granted. And once that promise began forming, it became impossible to ignore. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude often inspires commitment. Your soulmate was feeling that commitment. And listen to this. As the evening came to an end, one final thought remained. A thought powerful enough to stay with them long after the day was over. The thought was: the people who bring meaning into our lives deserve to know they matter. The moment that realization settled into place, everything felt different. The future looked brighter. The present felt richer. The memories felt more valuable. Because your heart needs this right now, because appreciation changes everything it touches. Your soulmate had discovered that truth. And the promise growing inside their heart was only becoming stronger. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, because after the first realization appeared, your soulmate thought it would eventually fade. They believed it was simply a passing thought. A temporary emotion. A brief moment of reflection. Yet something unexpected happened. The realization refused to leave. And listen to this. The next morning arrived. The world continued moving. Responsibilities waited. Tasks demanded attention. Life seemed completely normal. Yet inside your soulmate's heart, something felt different. Something felt unfinished. A thought kept returning. Quietly. Consistently. Patiently. Because your heart needs this right now, because important truths often return until we finally understand them. Your soulmate was beginning to understand. And listen to this. Every time they tried focusing on something else, the same realization appeared. Not dramatically. Not forcefully. Simply present. Like a gentle reminder. Like a message waiting to be heard. Like a lesson that had finally arrived at exactly the right moment. Because your heart needs this right now, because some lessons appear only when we are ready for them. Your soulmate was ready. And listen to this. As they reflected on everything they had learned recently, they began noticing a pattern. The moments they remembered most clearly all shared something in common. They weren't moments of success. They weren't moments of recognition. They weren't moments of achievement. Instead, they were moments of connection. Moments of understanding. Moments of genuine appreciation. Moments that made life feel meaningful. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaning is often found in relationships rather than accomplishments. Your soulmate was discovering that truth. And listen to this. The realization continued growing stronger. Every memory seemed to point toward the same conclusion. Every lesson seemed connected. Every reflection seemed to lead back to the same place. The people who leave positive marks on our hearts deserve appreciation. Not someday. Not eventually. Now. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude becomes most powerful when it is expressed rather than postponed. Your soulmate was beginning to realize that. And listen to this. One evening, while sitting quietly and thinking about the future, another question appeared. A question that immediately captured their attention. The question was, what kind of person do I want to be moving forward? The answer didn't arrive instantly. Instead, it emerged slowly. Through reflection. Through honesty. Through understanding. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaningful answers often take time to reveal themselves. Your soulmate was listening carefully. And listen to this. The more they thought about it, the clearer the answer became. They wanted to become someone who appreciates meaningful people. Someone who values genuine connections. Someone who never becomes too busy to recognize what truly matters. Someone who remembers that life is about more than goals and achievements. Because your heart needs this right now, because our values shape the direction of our lives. Your soulmate was rediscovering theirs. And listen to this. As the realization deepened, they noticed another truth. Many people spend years chasing happiness, searching for fulfillment, looking for meaning. Yet sometimes meaning is already present, hidden inside conversations, hidden inside memories, hidden inside the people who quietly improve our lives. Because your heart needs this right now, because life's greatest treasures are often already around us. Your soulmate was finally noticing them. And listen to this. The thought continued returning. Again. And again. And again. Meaningful people deserve meaningful appreciation. The words felt simple, yet powerful. The kind of truth that becomes stronger every time you think about it. The kind of truth that slowly transforms the way you see everything. Because your heart needs this right now, because simple truths are often the most life-changing. Your soulmate was experiencing one of those truths. And listen to this. As the days passed, the realization became something more. It became a commitment. Not a temporary feeling. Not a passing emotion. A genuine commitment. A promise rooted in gratitude. A promise rooted in understanding. A promise rooted in appreciation. Because your heart needs this right now, because the strongest promises come from the deepest realizations. Your soulmate had reached that realization. And listen to this. The promise wasn't complicated. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't impossible to keep. Yet it carried enormous meaning. The promise was to stop taking meaningful connections for granted. To recognize their value. To appreciate their presence. To remember their importance. Because your heart needs this right now, because appreciation grows stronger when it becomes intentional. Your soulmate was becoming intentional. And listen to this. For the first time in a long while, they felt a sense of certainty. Not certainty about the future. Not certainty about every outcome. Certainty about what truly matters. And that certainty brought peace. A quiet peace. A steady peace. The kind of peace that comes from understanding something important. Because your heart needs this right now, because clarity often creates peace. Your soulmate was finally finding that clarity. And listen to this. As the evening came to an end, one final realization remained. A realization that felt impossible to forget. The realization was: the people who make our lives better deserve our appreciation while they're still part of the journey. The moment that thought settled into place, the promise became real. No longer just an idea. No longer just a feeling. A genuine commitment. One they intended to keep. Because your heart needs this right now, because promises built on gratitude tend to last the longest. Your soulmate was serious about this one. And this commitment would soon lead them toward an even deeper realization, one that would reveal exactly why this promise means so much to them. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you. Because after days of reflection, after countless memories returned to their mind, and after every question had been carefully considered, your soulmate finally reached a turning point. A moment of honesty. A moment of clarity. A moment that changed the way they saw everything. And listen to this. For a long time, they believed appreciation was something automatic. They assumed that if someone mattered, they would naturally remember to value them. They assumed gratitude would always be obvious. Yet life taught them something different. Sometimes the people who impact us most become such a natural part of our world that we forget to recognize how important they truly are. Not because they matter less. Because they matter so consistently. Because your heart needs this right now, because familiarity can sometimes hide the value of something precious. Your soulmate was beginning to uncover that hidden value. And listen to this. The more they reflected, the more they noticed how many meaningful memories were connected by a common thread. A feeling of understanding. A feeling of trust. A feeling of comfort. A feeling of genuine appreciation. Those moments weren't necessarily dramatic. They weren't necessarily life-changing at the time. Yet together, they formed something powerful. Something lasting. Something impossible to ignore. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaningful connections are often built from hundreds of small moments rather than one big event. Your soulmate was finally seeing the complete picture. And listen to this. One evening, while reflecting on everything they had learned, they stopped asking what they wanted from the future. Instead, they asked something different. Something deeper. Something more important. The question was, what do I never want to lose sight of again? The answer appeared almost immediately. The answer wasn't success. It wasn't achievement. It wasn't recognition. It wasn't status. The answer was appreciation. Appreciation for meaningful people. Appreciation for meaningful experiences. Appreciation for the connections that make life feel richer. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude often reveals what matters most. Your soulmate had discovered what mattered most. And listen to this. The realization became stronger every day. Every memory seemed brighter. Every lesson seemed clearer. Every meaningful experience seemed more valuable. Not because those things had changed. Because their perspective had changed. And perspective has the power to transform everything. Because your heart needs this right now, because a change in perspective can reveal blessings that were hidden in plain sight. Your soulmate was finally seeing those blessings. And listen to this. As the realization deepened, another truth emerged. The strongest connections in life aren't built through perfection. They aren't built through constant excitement. They aren't built through grand gestures alone. They are built through consistency. Understanding. Patience. Shared experiences. And genuine care. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaningful relationships grow through everyday moments. Your soulmate finally understood that. And listen to this. The more they thought about it, the more certain they became. Some promises are made out of emotion. Some promises are made out of fear. Some promises are made out of pressure. But the strongest promises are made from understanding. And this promise came from understanding. A deep understanding. A sincere understanding. An understanding that had been growing for a very long time. Because your heart needs this right now, because understanding creates commitments that last. Your soulmate was making one of those commitments. And listen to this. For the first time, they stopped focusing on what they couldn't control. They stopped worrying about every uncertainty. They stopped trying to predict every outcome. Instead, they focused on what they could control. Their appreciation. Their gratitude. Their intention. Their commitment to value what matters. Because your heart needs this right now, because peace often comes when we focus on what truly matters. Your soulmate was finding that peace. And listen to this. The promise became clearer. Stronger. More meaningful. Not because anyone asked them to make it. Because their heart genuinely wanted to. The promise wasn't about changing the future. It was about changing the way they approached the present. It was about never becoming too distracted to recognize what is important. Because your heart needs this right now, because appreciation becomes powerful when it becomes a habit. Your soulmate wanted it to become a habit. And listen to this. Then came the realization that changed everything. The realization they could no longer ignore. The realization that connected every memory, every lesson, and every reflection. The realization was: the people who bring meaning into our lives deserve to be appreciated while they're still part of our journey. The moment those words settled into place, everything became clear. The promise made sense. The gratitude made sense. The emotions made sense. The journey made sense. Because your heart needs this right now, because clarity often arrives when we finally recognize what our heart has been trying to tell us all along. Your soulmate had finally heard that message. And listen to this. The promise they made wasn't dramatic. It wasn't impossible. It wasn't unrealistic. It was sincere. And sincerity is what made it powerful. A sincere commitment to appreciate. A sincere commitment to remember. A sincere commitment to value meaningful connections. Because your heart needs this right now, because the most meaningful promises are often the simplest ones. Your soulmate understood that now. And this realization would soon lead to the final chapter, the moment where everything comes together and the true meaning behind the promise is finally revealed. Don't skip. Listen carefully. This message is for you, because after every reflection, after every memory that returned unexpectedly, after every lesson they quietly learned, after every realization that slowly changed their perspective, your soulmate finally reached the moment where everything came together. The moment where all the questions found answers. The moment where all the reflections found meaning. The moment where the promise became real. And listen to this. For a long time, they believed that meaningful things would always remain obvious. They believed they would naturally remember what mattered most. They believed appreciation would happen automatically. Yet life showed them something different. Life showed them how easy it is to become distracted. How easy it is to become busy. How easy it is to focus so much on tomorrow that we forget to appreciate today. Because your heart needs this right now, because awareness often arrives when we finally slow down enough to see clearly. Your soulmate was finally seeing clearly. And listen to this. The more they reflected, the more they realized that many of the best parts of life had never been part of their plans. The most meaningful conversations weren't scheduled. The most valuable lessons weren't expected. The most important connections often appeared naturally. Quietly. Unexpectedly. Yet those became the moments that mattered most. Because your heart needs this right now, because life's greatest gifts often arrive without announcement. Your soulmate was recognizing those gifts. And listen to this. As they revisited old memories, they noticed something remarkable. Certain moments still carried the same emotional warmth they felt years ago. Certain conversations still felt meaningful. Certain experiences still felt important. Not because they were perfect. Not because they were dramatic. Because they were genuine. Because they were real. Because they came from authentic connection. Because your heart needs this right now, because authenticity leaves marks that time cannot easily erase. Your soulmate could still feel those marks. And listen to this. The realization became impossible to ignore. Life moves quickly. Faster than most people realize. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. Months become years. Entire chapters pass before we fully understand their importance. And that understanding changed everything. Because your heart needs this right now, because recognizing the value of time changes the way we value people. Your soulmate had learned that lesson. And listen to this. For the first time in a very long while, they stopped measuring life by achievements alone. They stopped asking, "What have I accomplished?" and started asking, "What have I appreciated?" The difference felt enormous. One question focused on success. The other focused on meaning. One focused on results. The other focused on gratitude. And gratitude revealed things they had overlooked. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude illuminates what routine often hides. Your soulmate was finally seeing what had been hidden. And listen to this. The more they reflected, the more another truth appeared. The people who leave lasting impressions rarely do so through one extraordinary act. Instead, they leave those impressions through consistency. Kindness. Understanding. Presence. Support. Through countless small moments that gradually become unforgettable. Because your heart needs this right now, because meaningful relationships are built one moment at a time. Your soulmate understood that now. And listen to this. As the promise continued forming inside their heart, they realized it wasn't really about making a declaration. It wasn't about saying impressive words. It wasn't about dramatic gestures. It was about a decision. A sincere decision. A decision to appreciate meaningful people while they are part of the journey. A decision to stop taking genuine connections for granted. A decision to recognize value before time passes. Because your heart needs this right now, because appreciation becomes most powerful when it happens in the present. Your soulmate was choosing the present. And listen to this. The realization brought a sense of peace. Not because every problem disappeared. Not because every question was answered. Because they finally understood what truly deserved their attention. Meaningful experiences. Meaningful memories. Meaningful people. The things that give life depth and purpose. Because your heart needs this right now, because clarity often creates peace. Your soulmate had finally found that clarity. And listen to this. Then came the promise. The promise that felt simple, yet powerful. The promise that grew from every memory and every realization. The promise was, I will never allow myself to become so distracted by the future that I forget to appreciate the people who make life meaningful today. The moment those words settled into place, everything changed. The journey felt richer. The memories felt brighter. The future felt more hopeful. Because your heart needs this right now, because gratitude transforms the way we experience life. Your soulmate was experiencing that transformation. And listen to this. As the night came to an end, one final realization remained. A realization they knew they would carry with them for years. The realization was, the people who touch our hearts become part of our story forever. Some lessons fade. Some moments disappear. Some memories become distant. But meaningful connections leave lasting impressions. And those impressions continue shaping us long after the moment has passed. Because your heart needs this right now, because genuine connection is one of life's greatest treasures. Your soulmate had finally recognized that treasure. And listen to this. The big news wasn't a dramatic secret. It wasn't a shocking announcement. It wasn't something the world would notice. It was something far more meaningful. A promise built on gratitude. A promise built on appreciation. A promise built on the understanding that meaningful connections deserve to be valued while they are here. Because your heart needs this right now, because the strongest promises come from the deepest understanding. Your soulmate was serious about this one. And listen to this. The final message they want you to hear is simple. Never underestimate the impact that genuine connection can have on a life. Never underestimate the value of appreciation. And never forget that the people who bring meaning into your journey are among life's greatest gifts. The moment they understood that truth, everything changed. And they knew they would never see life quite the same way again.